You can have the apartment, the promotion, and the quiet Sunday morning, yet still feel a low-grade hum of anxiety in the background. It is a persistent suspicion that whatever you are doing, you should be doing more. We are taught that this tension is a tool. Modern doctrine frames measuring yourself against your peers as the primary engine for personal growth, the only way to ensure you don't fall behind. Observe the natural world and you see a different logic. This ancient tree never measures its branches against the pine next to it. Animals exist in a state of contentment without ever checking their status against the rest of the herd. Humans are the outliers here. We are the only species that creates its own misery through the constant habit of looking sideways to see how we measure up. This lack of fulfillment stems from an external conditioning we've internalized. To stop the cycle, we have to examine the specific mechanics of how this habit was taught to us in the first place. The programming starts early. Long before we have the cognitive defense to question it, we are placed into a school system built on the concept of class rankings. The mechanical trap begins with a simple arrangement. You take two children with different temperaments and different paces, and you place them in the same classroom. Sharing a physical environment tricks the mind into assuming a baseline of similarity. Because you are studying the same books in the same room, it starts to feel logical to compare your progress as if you were identical. Then a single metric is introduced. One student is assigned first rank, and the other is not. Since you have already accepted the idea that you and your peer are the same, this vertical shift creates an immediate sense of height. For the person on the lower end, this translates into a feeling of inferiority that feels mathematically proven. These rankings succeed in creating our first internal competition. We learn to stop looking at our own growth and start looking at where we sit on the vertical line. Once the brain accepts the necessity of the vertical line, it develops a drive to stay on top, a constant need to win that dictates our behavior long after we leave school. This drive operates like a treadmill. The moment one competition ends, whether it's a degree or a career milestone, the mind immediately seeks out the next arena. You become unable to sit idle without looking for a new game to win. In this system, relaxation is perceived as a risk. If you pause to relax, you create a gap, and in that gap, you watch as someone else surges past you to the top of the graph. This dynamic turns the fear of losing into a permanent state of mind. You cannot experience genuine happiness while you are actively defending your position in the game. Winning provides a temporary surge of ego, and losing provides a sense of failure. Both outcomes rely on the same false comparison to give you a sense of self. The structure ensures that peace remains out of reach. As long as you are playing to avoid the bottom of the rank, you are blocked from experiencing any lasting contentment. The foolishness of this race becomes clear when you look at the one event that ends it: mortality. Death acts as the final equalizer. It leaves the podium empty and the scoreboard erroneous. The social standing you spent a lifetime defending cannot be taken beyond the grave. If the game has no permanent prize, it is worth questioning why we spend our limited time stressing over the standings. When the final destination is the same for every participant, the only logical priority is the quality of the journey in the present moment. To step off the treadmill, you have to dismantle the original premise. You have to recognize that the similarity we were taught in the classroom does not actually exist. In reality, there is no shared baseline. Every person is a complex structure with no duplicate. This taught uniformity shatters against human variety. Because no two people are truly similar, better or worse lose meaning. A rank system becomes impossible. Each individual exists as an incomparable masterpiece of biology and history. When you realize that no one can be a better version of you than you are, the desire to measure yourself against others begins to look like a category error. Seeing the system break down allows the tension to slacken. By recognizing that the metrics are arbitrary, the drive to compete loses its grip. Bliss is the natural byproduct of this clarity. It is what remains when you finally stop trying to rank yourself and simply accept your own uniqueness.